All right, I hope you enjoyed the lunch break. And our next speaker is Duke Wu from a company called Fungis. Actually, that's a platform for indie developers, and not only indie developers, but mainly to actually create a store and sell their game on their own. And Duke will talk about threats and pros and cons about doing that. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to come in person, but he will join us through the Zoom, through the online call. And it's all live, so don't forget to ask questions through Slido or in person. I will pass you the mic. And Duke, stage is yours.
Right, hi everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't make it there, but I'm sure you guys are having a great time. I have my kids, so we didn't have the babysitter, and our grandparents were out of town. If you have kids, you probably know how it is. So sorry for that. So as mentioned, we're building Fungis, which is a storefront builder for the game industry that will allow you to sell your own game, Steam keys, or your mobile e-game items through your own store. So let's get on to it. So I'm going to talk today about how to break through with your own distribution, with your own distribution channel and sales, doing it on your own. A little bit of background for myself. I was born in Vietnam, in Hanoi. This lovely street still exists there. So if you happen to be in Hanoi or anywhere, feel free to reach out to me. I was born there. I moved to Poland in 1991. 13,000 kilometers. My dad used to study in the 70s in Poland. And then I stayed here for the last 30 years. So I'm actually both Vietnamese and Polish at the same time. I mean, I have two passports, and Poland is lovely, great. And I guess Slovakia is too. I think we share both sides of the Tatra mountains. So this photo was taken in Tatra, on the Polish side of Tatra. And Poland has great portfolio of huge gaming companies. CD Projekt, huge games, 10 Square Games, Techland, of course, you probably know all of them. Amazing country to be in terms of gaming innovation. I myself, I've been a data scientist, taking care of large customers like MediaMarkt or Fly or BP. Did a lot of marketing segmentation, customer analytics for all those brands. And I've run e-commerce marketing campaigns for almost $10 million total spend. I founded a business which did $200,000 of sales monthly. And so I'm trying to bring my e-commerce knowledge to the gaming industry too. With Fungis, we have nearly $100,000 in sales generated for all the studios, and 6,000 customers have already signed up on our platform. And so let's jump to the topic. What's happening now is you have around 1,200 games being released every day on Steam. And most of those games, they don't make money. And the median sales for all those games is around $1,500. Of course, you have all those AAA, AA games on the market. The top 5% doing nearly $500,000 per year, and the top 1% doing $8.5 million per year. But on average, on median scale, most of the games being released on Steam don't make money. And as you can see here, 72% actually make less than $5,000 per year. So I guess most of the Steam game developers, indie game developers, are doing out of their love and passion for making games, and that's great. And the price distribution really skews onto those AAA and AA games, where at the average they have more than $20 of price per unit. And even more so, Steam 1,200 games per month being released, and mobile games, that's even more than that. In Q4 2022, that's nearly 500,000 of games on Google Play and 300,000 games on the App Store. So you have a huge number of games, and really, it's really hard to stand out right now. What's optimistic is that from March next year, we're going to have Digital Markets Act, especially in Europe, which will force the so-called gatekeepers in the App Store, like Google and Apple, of course. It will force them to allow alternative payment methods inside app stores, which means if you're a mobile gaming studio, first of all, you can redirect all those players and users to your web store. You can allow, and you can have the possibility to implement your own payment methods. And it won't favor the in-game web store from Apple or Google, just any web browser inside those games. So what's going to happen is that, and what I'm talking with a lot of mobile game studios as well, is they're already choosing their preferred payment or checkout systems for mobile in-game app purchases. And March 2024 is the deadline to comply for Apple and Google. And our take on that is that if Europe is going to enforce that, then there will be probably a time in the future where Asia and America will allow that too. Of course, everything will be also heated up by a large number of startups or new companies doing AI, generative AI in the game industry. That's going to create a lot of chaos. That's going to create a lot of more games. So there's three major shifts that we're going to see. Is that number one, there's already a growing number of games released. Look at Steam, look at mobile game app stores. There's going to be a legal framework for self-distribution, for self-publishing of your games. And the time to market, we're already seeing indie game developers, mid-sized studios shortening the time to market for the games, prototypes, early access with generative AI. We know that Steam is banning a lot of AI games, if not every AI game out there. But there's a high probability up until there's a legislature or a legal framework for AI-generated assets in games will be decided. Then we're gonna have a much clearer message from Steam or other marketplaces as well. But what's happening is that the time to market for a lot of games is gonna shorten, and so we're gonna have even more games. There's gonna be like a feedback loop of all those games being driven on the market. So if there's going to be more games, then unique distribution will win. Your unique UA services or approaches. There's going to be a freedom of payment and direct to players stores, either inside game or through the web stores. And there's going to be an even bigger role of efficient marketing to drive your game sales. So why self-distribution matters? First of all, if there's so much competition, there's probably going to be lower sales, and it's going to be harder for you to stand out among other games. On the left side, here's an example distribution of money once you launch on Steam, for example. So the longer you're going to sell on Steam, the larger cut is going to be on Steam. I understand that Steam is the main distribution channel, but what I'm trying to tell you is that could be ways for you to diversify your distribution channels. Platform fees, of course, 30% for now. That's mainly on Steam, but App Store and Google Play Store, soon it will change. While there's a limited user acquisition capabilities in terms of mobile gaming and Steam as well, they hide a lot of data. So you don't actually see, for example, all the people that wishlisted your game. So the state of the Steam distribution is that most of the games now are being distributed on Steam, of course, but there's a plethora of other marketplaces and platforms such as Play Store, Xbox, Epic Game Store, GOG. And in all of that, while Steam is still a minority, let's say, player in all the internet, Facebook have 3 billion users, YouTube 2.5 billion users, WhatsApp, and all those platforms, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Reddit, they all allow some kind of advertising on their platform. So there's a way for you to reach those players or users even outside of the popular app stores, marketplaces, or Steam. And of course, aside from that, people still use Google. Of course, the Google search organic is super important, and so it is best if you could also reach that audience as well. So if you compare, the Steam distribution to all the other internet, other means, that's a drop in the water, and so it's I guess that it's good to know other ways to reach those users as well. This was taken from a slide from GDC. So what's makes your games sell on Steam? First of all, the store features. So the Steam store features is decided upon how well the players are receiving your game, how well is it selling. And so the store features also could be curated. So it could mean that you could be handpicked to be on the Steam store. Sales here means discounts. And those are the three websites. Those are the three driving forces of sales out of the 130, I think, indie game studio survey back in 2018. It may have changed right now, but from what I've, of course, our experience, a lot of game sales, of course, happen on Steam. But look at Steam. When you go there, of course, there's a curated banner that is chosen by the Steam team. But the featured and recommended is the second way for you to reach those players, depending on your tag. So tagging your game is super important. Free to play, open world co-op. Steam will choose how to feature those games to the players that have chosen the tag that you have put in your Steam store. Of course, discounts and sales will mean that Steam will show those games even more often to those players. But then again, you have banners or other categories which are curated by the Steam team. And of course, stop new releases is also chosen algorithmically by Steam. But if you have an early access game, you won't be discovered there. Very important thing is your discovery queue. Of course, it all depends on what games the user or the player have played before. So it is strictly personalized for each user. If you have early access games, they won't appear on the new and trending. So it's important to keep that in mind once you launch that Steam store page. So there's a new video from Steamworks that explains what are the factors of the visibility of all those features on store Steam sales, which is, as I remind, the number one factor that drives sales on Steam. So the store page traffic is not a factor. So how much people visit your store is not a factor to drive the visibility on Steam. The review score is also not a factor. I mean, if you have, I guess the number was like 40%. If more than 40% you have positive reviews, then it won't affect the visibility. The asterisk there is that if you have less than 40% positive reviews, then they would be shown into the featured and recommended on the main page. Wishlist is something that we have numerous, myths with wishlists. The more wishlists, it's going to be better. There's going to be breakpoint, 10,000, 50,000 wishlists on Steam will mean that you have more visibility on Steam. So that's not a factor, and it has been debunked by Steam itself. Wishlist just means that people have signed up to see your game, see your release. If you have an early access game, wishlisting means that once you launch that game, they will get an email that your game is launched. And so wishlist is nothing else than just like, let's say, an email subscription list, which activates them once you do certain actions. For example, if you have a discount of more than 30%, then it will also send out a message on all those users that have wishlisted your game. But it does not affect the visibility on how they choose to show you or curate them on the main page. Early access is also not a factor. Localization is actually a factor here because the more languages your game has, Steam decides on featuring to all those Japanese or Korean players or Polish players based on how many languages your game has. So it is a factor. So the more languages, the more localization for your game, the more it will be visible in the Steam store. In all of these, it all comes to the point where launching your store page is not helping, and a solid marketing plan is actually going to be far better than praying for Steam to feature your game on their store. And paid marketing is definitely one of those channels where you have to put on emphasis on. I'm not going to talk about Discord forums or social media, engaging your community or players early in the days, launching your store page and engaging the media far ahead of your game's launch or press or influencers. What I'm going to talk about today is the paid marketing part, where there's less decision or less, let's say, luck based on Steam's curation team or the Steam's algorithm. More emphasis is on how well you execute all those paid marketing campaigns. Example, of course, wishlist. It simply acts as a mailing list, and more or less 20% of wishlist they convert to sales. This was the Steam presentation at GDC. 20% drive the sales. But at the end, when you drive the marketing to your Steam page, you still have to have that 30% cuts. And so in terms of both Steam page and of course paid marketing, bear in mind about the conversion rate of impressions to purchases. But here I'm going to talk about self-distribution. When you self-distribute, you own your players' data. We've seen numerous examples of big or small game studios which are creating their web stores right now. We've seen 15 to 20% from mobile game studios to drive their sales through the web stores. Huge games, Supercell is having their own store, of course. And it's super important to also have a web page, a website for your game. And that's, I'm going to tell you why later on. But store is something that Scopely for Star Trek, for example, or Techland, they already have the stores which sell directly to the players. Of course, there's a caveat there. Once you put your web store, and if you're going to sell Steam keys, for example, then the price can't be lower than on Steam. But otherwise, if you have your own custom launcher, which we do, by the way, then of course you can decide on the price, and you got to keep majority of the profit. I'm not, of course, don't have to mention about Blizzard and Battle.net, selling all those in-game cosmetics on their own store. With our solution, of course, you can quickly build that a store. And here are the don'ts and do's of the website. So once you decide on distributing on your own and have your own website or your own web store, it's important to have the logo, of course, on that website. The trailer screenshot is super important to have the product page and checkout to sell directly to those players. And the elevator pitch, remember that the website is not just for your players or users. If you're looking for a publisher, of course, that's important as well. You may have all this information as important for the players as for the publishers as well. The press packet, the download or store link to other stores, or the redirections to Steam, review blurbs if you have any contact info, a direct link to your crowdfunding campaign, and some sort of ways for you to collect all those mailing lists, which is, by the way, the same mechanics as wishlist. People would sign up for that, and you would have to ways now to control their data and send them, cross-sell, upsell, or the launches of your game. Which things that we generally don't advise to do is the blog. You have to maintain that blog. A forum means that you have to fight those trolls or keep the content on that forum consistent with what you're trying to convey your message to the audience. You have to best show your game. So any pre-alpha work in progress images or videos is not encouraged. Anything that you don't own, don't post there, and anything that might be not suitable for minor audiences, then even if your game is contains blood and sexuality, but have a choice. I mean, offer a choice for all those customers and players visiting your store to choose whether or not they would want to see that content. And nothing immediately annoying, please. No crazy flashing images, no loud audio, and people may be at work and school, so it's best to keep simple. And of course, no runs. But I guess I don't have to tell you that. So what we've seen from all of those campaigns and stores, that 80% of traffic they come to the game page, and the game page on your store or on the website is super important. You have to have a clear photo, star rating, which we see here beneath your video or your screenshot, is super important in terms of SEO, search ranking in Google organic search. You have to have some kind of distribution type. If you are selling those games on your own, make sure to communicate clearly if they could be activated in any part of the world, or what kind of platform is that, where they can activate that key, and how they're going to get that key. Is it going to be instant delivery to their email, or is it going to be sent by snail mail to their mailbox? Have a very clear call to action on the product page, like buy now or add to cart here. Photos, description, I don't have to tell you that. Super important is, of course, allowing those players to share on social media, Twitter and Facebook, on Instagram or TikTok. On that same page, if you're gonna have, if you could pull all those reviews, or you could somehow pull the reviews from purchases of the game itself on your own platform. That is super important in terms of organic positioning in Google. Do remember to have system requirements. If you have built other games as well, it's important to show those other games in kind of like product cards at the bottom. Do remember to include any kind of subscribe to your email and the trust badges if you do have them. The second important part of your web store is the checkout process. Do have the progress bar on the top, the price and quantity, of course, the trust badges. Have one single CTA on the whole page, one button that they can just click and just go on with their checkout processes. And it's best if you have no redirects, meaning that if you have all the payment methods or credit card payments, do that directly on your own web store rather than redirecting to the third party payment system and then returning back with a success message on your own store. So here's an example of a Steam game with the impressions. So even if you got featured on Steam, you may have 1.5 million impressions, but the click-through rate is almost negligible, 0.2%, 0.5%, 1% at best. And then your actual Steam sales visit is going to be less, of course, than that. Minus the bots. For example, 500 sales page, and all that hard work, all that PR campaigns and community driving and wish listing means that at the end, it doesn't impact that much. And by contrast, here's an example of a campaign we have done with the game studio, $2,500 spent, 1.3 million impression across Google, YouTube, Google search, paid ads. And then you would have 50,000 page visits on the web store. So let's do some maths here. $2,500 was spent, 50,000 visits. We had 2% conversion rate. Then most of that revenue you would keep for you anyway. If you have that store on your own, rather than relying on Steam luckiness, you have no control over the traffic, you have low conversion rate, And then at the end, if your game is great, and it doesn't mean that you can get discovered. Games with a lot of positive reviews might not translate to sales. So please bear that in mind. Once you run those campaigns, make sure to optimize your, of course, customer acquisition costs, your marketing costs, and the whole funnel from top to bottom. So here's some performance marketing or advertising tips. I'm sorry. Performance marketing is the set of tools and platforms where you could advertise your game. I'm talking about Twitch ads, Twitter ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, or even search engine optimization. So here's an example of the dashboard of SEMrush. For SEO, ratings or those stars for your game is super important. Which I've mentioned before. The Google Search Console have to be installed from the very beginning. Google Merchant Center is super effective. Those are those cards that when people type in, like you're searching for shoes, those are those cards at the right beneath the search bar that you can see the product cards from all different stores or websites. Of course, it's important to have on-site and off-site SEO. And here's an example of Sea of Stars, an indie game that have great organic traffic. Of course, the Steam page is on top, but then when you look at their website, it's the second place on the Google search engine, and it still drives around 300,000 people visiting the website every month. And so you actually spend all the PR and marketing and buzz to drive the traffic, and most of the traffic goes to Steam, and you pay 30% commission. But then again, that is, let's say, free traffic for your game. 300,000 people visiting your website, that's free traffic. And why not monetize that? Why not, out of those 300,000 people, if 2% of them would buy the game, that could mean, dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of sales through your own web store. And as Sea of Stars, we have seen, organic traffic actually comes from mostly from word of mouth, organic traffic, and they didn't do any paid marketing at all. So SEO, search engine optimization, is super important for recognizability of your website. And if we're going to talk about Google Ads, there are different flavors of ads for each platform. I have 3 minutes left, so here's some data from GameSide, and some of that from our own plans, like ads as well. The Google platform is super important to have your Google Merchant Center, as I mentioned. The 7-day retention is almost 30% for games across the board, and for free to play, that's 3.2% of conversion rate to sales. For premium game, it works even better, 4.4%. It is a platform where the highest conversion rate is coming from video ads. So I'm talking about YouTube remarketing. So people that visit your website and they're going to go to YouTube and they're going to see your game. That's retargeting. And for the display ads, it's super helpful in terms of brand building. It has one of the, of course, I think the widest reach in terms of all ad platforms across the internet. You can retarget people that have visited your game's website to show that game again. So it sticks to their mind, and I don't have to tell you that when you search or buy something on the internet, it's not like the first step you're gonna buy the thing. It's 10, 20 steps across the customer user journey across the internet for them to decide to buy your game. Second channel, Twitch ads. It has the highest 7-day retention across all games, premium or free to play. Of course, on Twitch, the 50% ad revenue goes to the streamer. So it is with some cost. I mean, if someone is showing the ads, meaning that they're going to make the money from those ads too. And the free to play play conversion is almost 3% for games across the board, with 5.5% aggregate conversion rate from from seeing the impression of the ad to sales. Facebook ads is one of the most highly personalized, highly targeted platform. You can actually also bring all the Google Pixel, all the data to Facebook and personalize those ads for your players. Of course, playable ads means that there's going to be even more engagement for your game. It's important to import all the Facebook Pixel or Facebook Conversion API to the web store so that you can retarget them. You can show them the game. You can show them the playable game on the Facebook's news feeds or other means of that social platform. Next up, Twitter ads. It has the poorest, the least sophisticated marketing tools on all platforms, but it has highest conversion rate. So, if you are trying to target all those Twitter users, there's a high chance that they're going to convert to a paying player or a paying customer. Although it's a mess, it's after mass acquisition, it still has 400 million audience to reach. And the free-to-play conversion rate is stunning 9%. That's highest across all the platforms. And then you have TikTok ads. It proves to be one of the platforms where you can easily reach those Gen Z millennial players, but the conversion rate is pretty slow. Pretty low. Reddit ads, example of our campaign, you could have like 2 million impressions on all those Reddit user groups for pretty cheap, like 20 cents per click for your ad, with low CTR, but it has a lot of impression and great exposure for your campaigns as well. So just remember, if you're gonna run ads, remember to calculate the return on ad spends for every channel, and bear in mind that there's a lot of things to consider in terms of how well executed campaigns are. But at the end of the day, I think it's worth it because it drives the traffic to your own web store where you have greater control and you can keep the profit for yourself, even bigger share of the profit for yourself. That's all from my side, so I welcome all your questions.
Thank you very much, Duke. While we're waiting for the questions from audience, do we have any questions right away? Okay, we have one. Yeah, but he won't.
Hello, I wanted to ask if it will be possible to download the presentation.
Yes, I will share with that. If there's any way that I can, or the organizers can send out, I'm sure I will share that. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure, we'll share that with you. Do we have any other questions? Okay, we have.
What is your recommendation for really green the game developers with not really so much money? How should they advertise the game probably in the most money efficient way?
So my recommendation, if you have at least any budget, $1,000 or $2,000, that's enough for you to generate that 50,000, 60,000 traffic to your web store or website. So it is something. When you organize your PR or outreach to influencers, you don't have that much control over how you can track those data. And so, at least from my point of view, if you are an indie game developer, you're making the game on your own, set aside something, $500, $1,000, anything to drive that initial traffic. And depending on how well the game is received, then you can have then word of mouth, some virality. If someone is gonna discover you, then they can share that with their network. That's in terms of paid marketing. At least have something set aside. Second, as I mentioned before, search engine optimization is super important. So let's say that some streamer or they've seen your game somewhere in the press release. It's important that you have a high ranking page on the Google search, the top of their mind. I mean, they're gonna type in Google as everyone does, and then your website should be on top with the proper website, with the proper mobile visibility, responsive web design, and of course SEO done, technically well done on the website. It will drive free traffic, organic traffic for your website and for the potential sales of your game. I don't have to mention, about Steam, launching your Steam page. There are a number of videos out there how you can optimize the Steam's store page, but don't put that much emphasis on wish listing. I mean, I've seen so many studios like the whole effort is like driving the wish list. Now, it's just just like the email subscription. You can have that on your website as well. You could also drive that traffic to your website and have people actually sign up for your newsletter. It is just the same as wish listing. But what's different is that you can actually have those emails and then you can cross-sell, upsell them, remind them of your future discount sales. Whereas with Steam, they only send on 2 occasions. One is if you're going to do a discount. 2 is when you're going to actually launch the game after the early access. And I guess last but not least, PR. I mean, do plan your PR marketing way ahead. Have a launch plan in Excel. Do a lot of early gameplay, some vertical slides. Just demo with your audience. Build those social channels, especially on TikTok. I've seen, TikTok is one of the greatest channels for you to actually drive your organic community around your game. So there's a lot of things that you could do on your own without any money engaged. But on the other side, I think that with a little amount, like $1,000 or $2,000, you can actually have a lot of traffic for your web store already.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Anonymous. It's not a question, but he's saying that since you could not come in person, I really appreciate your effort to do this talk online. So
thank you very much.
We really appreciate it too.
The pleasure is on my side.
Okay, do we have any other questions in the audience? Okay, it seems we do not have any. But one thing was on my mind when I was listening to your talk. You mentioned that we should avoid having like a flashy or loud visuals on our website. And it was funny because we were at Tokyo Game Show with my company like 2 months ago or a month ago, and basically every second comment from the attendees was like, "Oh, your website is too supple. You need to have some flashy visuals." So that just stayed in my mind. So I guess it varies from region to region, right? Or is it like the safest way to have it not so much flashy?
What I'm showing here, what I'm talking here is, I guess, mostly for the Western audiences. I'm Asian myself, and Japan is entirely different world. So I guess you have the rest of the world and Japan. Well, it's a very specific market. Sure.
That just like was on my mind for the whole talk. Okay, any questions? Oh, we have one.
Is it a good idea to hire marketologist for your game to market it?
Well, if you have your own indie game, then I think all the materials about marketing, how to run like Facebook or Google or like TikTok campaigns, you can do it for yourself. There's enough materials on the website. I don't think for $1,000 or $2,000 budget, or even less than $1,000, it makes sense to hire anyone. You can do that on your own, and you better spend that money on the media itself. It's a pretty easy thing to do on Facebook and other campaigns, and Google SEO is almost free. So just put a little bit of effort from your own. But if you do have a publisher, if you do have user acquisition, budget, like all those AAA studios, that of course it makes sense to hire agency for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any last question? Okay, we do not have any questions. Thank you very much, Duke, for joining us
Thank
online.
you.
I really appreciate it. And yeah, enjoy the coffee break.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.